Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is exactly 9:21 a.m. News and views right here on Salam Media. Our next guest is Reezwana Sumad. She is an economist and she's going to be telling us why we're getting poorer with every passing day. Why is the rand so weak right now? What are the chances of recovery? And is this once again about international drivers that's creating this problem, or is it our own domestic issues? Reezwana Sumad, Assalamu alaikum. Lovely to have you on the show. Welcome.
Walaikum salam. Jazakallah for having me.
Okay, would you like to respond to my
Yeah.
statement? Why? I guess technically it is correct when I say we're getting poorer, are we not? Because our rand doesn't have the buying power that it's had in the past.
Yeah, definitely. We saw the rand weakening gradually through the course of the year. We had the bulk of the reason coming through from global factors. We had a strong dollar. We also had South Africa losing its competitiveness with regards to the increasing load shedding intensity that we've been experiencing since the start of the year. However, things got progressively worse in the past week or so. We started off last week with more intense load shedding, Eskom ramping up the load shedding stage to stage 6 and above in certain areas. And we had further, communication where people and counterparties are talking about a grid collapse or a worsening electricity situation come winter during the peak demand season. So we did see the rand weaken. At the start of last week, we thought that the rand was pricing in an effective stage 8 load shedding by the winter time. We do seem to be scoring many own goals, as I call it, with the ambassador from the US to South Africa on Thursday, saying that the US has evidence that South Africa has supplied arms to Russia in the ship that was
Sure.
docked in December. So we saw the rand weaken to the weakest level ever in our history, 19 rand 45 against the dollar. So things seem to have gotten progressively worse towards the end of the week. We had local markets selling off across the board, equities, bonds, and the rand obviously losing significant value. For the last month or so, South Africa has been amongst the weakest emerging market currencies across its peers. And so while it's a combination of local as well as global factors, it does seem as though the recent blowout is as a result of deteriorating um, uh, uh, political tensions in essence in the last week.
So, Reezwana, let me ask you this question. Other emerging currencies are not experiencing the same depreciation as the rand. They too have domestic issues that they need to contend with. Why is our situation so dire? I know
Yeah.
you've outlined a lot of issues, the issue around Eskom, the issue about overseas investors losing confidence in our country, the issue around the supposed arms that were supplied to Russia. So you have outlined all the major issues, but other
Yes.
countries, other emerging markets also have lots of huge issues. Why are we in such a compromised position
Yeah.
regarding our
With,
currency?
with regard to our currency, it's almost a double-edged sword, I would call it. On the one hand, we are the most liquid, amongst the most liquid, so most highly traded currency in the EM basket. And so during good times, so during times of increased investor confidence, sentiment globally improving, we do see South Africa benefit more than other emerging market peer
Ah.
currencies. Now things seem to be going the opposite way. So even though the emerging market currency basket has weakened, South Africa's rand weakness have outstripped that because of our local issues combined with global issues, and because South Africa is so highly traded in the emerging market peer currency basket, we seem to be worse off during negative times and better off during positive times, if that makes sense.
I really worry about all the hujaj. Can you imagine what this situation's doing to, to their trip, going on Hajj. And we know that Hajj costs have escalated over the past
Yeah,
few years, triple or tenfold for that matter. So they are going to be taking quite a pounding. Our du'as are with them, obviously. What do you believe needs to happen to turn things around? What is it going to take for that turnaround, and how long before we see improvements in the strengthening of the rand?
yeah. Sure, that's quite a loaded question, but I'll try to take a bite out of it. In terms of improving, so we know the things that need to be done to improve growth, economic prosperity, and then by default currency. We need more electricity stability, so more stability in the grid, so more electricity availability, I guess, in the country overall, a better infrastructure, public infrastructure, in essence. Those two factors will really boost economic growth in South Africa. We think that once we have enough electricity to supply into the economy, growth will increase by at least 2%. So that's 200 basis points. That's more than tenfold from what is projected this year at 0.2%. The second factor is we need more political stability, and unfortunately, that's unlikely to be achieved as we head into the 2024 elections. So those
Absolutely.
two things need to be resolved as soon as possible for South Africa's growth outlook to improve, and then by default, everything else falls in more into place with a stronger currency and better job creation, etc. But in the very near term, what we are forecasting and what we are seeing for the rand is that the rand is expected to remain weak in the current quarter, so up until the end of June or so, into August as well. And then we see it strengthening slightly. So we're expecting the rand to average around 19 rand in the current quarter. So essentially roughly unchanged from where we are currently. But we are expecting slight strength in the latter part of the year, and that is mainly on the back of a weaker dollar, with the US Federal Reserve pausing in terms of interest rate hikes, and the US economy also showing some signs of slowdown now and into year end as well. So more due to global factors that we are likely to see a stronger rand, but also the rand typically tends to strengthen into the December period. I know that's out of the time, period, or out of this Hajj period, but there is some silver lining. I think it's marginal, and we're still expecting the rand to end the year between 18 and 1850 against the
Well,
dollar.
that's a little bit of good news for people who are planning on holidays, very especially overseas holidays during the December period. In the meantime, we all will just make a dua, inshallah, that things do change. But lovely talking with you, Reezwana Sumad. You're an economist, and we look forward to many more chats in the future, inshallah. You go well.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. It is exactly 9:29 news and views right here on Salam Media, and we are going to now be chatting to quite a dynamic young man who is the new station manager for the Voice of the Cape. So please stay with us.